you can never be good enough or have enough, and is delivered to people everywhere through multiple forms of mass media, is perhaps the greatest threat to a just and healthy society. And I'm afraid that we haven't seen anything yet. In this, 50 cent is just mere window dressing. So to wrap up in 50 cent, what decision should Neil's company have taken? What would have been a good business choice given the above? Whether you agree or not, the organizers say, the show goes on. Neil could argue on a philosophical level that 50 cent lyrics are really no worse and certainly less damaging in the big picture than some passages in the Holy Scriptures. Wouldn't that ideal shock a few do-gooders out there? Knowing the power of music, Neil could also argue that 50 Cent's expression of anger is cathartic, and that there are no meaningful studies to prove otherwise. Or maybe he would say that no one is above reproach, that there are no homogeneous social values, and that democracy, by definition, must allow for other voices. Moreover, Neil could easily contend that the free market should be allowed to determine whether the 50 cents of this world succeed or fail, whatever the market will bear. For my part, and you might be surprised that Plato would probably concur, I also think that the concert should go on. Plato would say that such events offer societal leaders a prime opportunity to watch and learn about the present values and behavior of citizens. If such an event evokes concern, the leaders would examine core causes and then begin introducing the measures needed to restore balance, along with the right of each individual to lead a fulfilled life. But for such events to become a valuable exercise, visionary leaders and appropriate role models are mandatory, and they appear to be in short supply. So in the meantime, we may have no other choice than to heed these provocative words from 50 Cent himself. Go ahead, envy me. I'm rap's MVP, and I ain't going nowhere, so you can get to know me. Thank you.
So our questions once again. Okay, everybody's voted. We're moving quickly. Next. Okay, next question. You've changed or you've not changed on the basis of that presentation? Okay. And the picture is not changed. Okay, and the final question. You're back in the CEO's seat. What's your view? You take the contract or not? Everybody got their opinion registered? Let's see what the outcome is. Well, there's nothing like consistency. I'm looking at my watch. I think we have time before Neil develops the final position, his final position, and we have a final vote. Are there any members of the audience who want to either ask a question of the panel or make a point? I'll allow you no more than 2 minutes. Yes. We have some runners with mics, I think. There's someone down here. Marianne? Looks like Erica.
Yeah. It's actually a technology question.
Can you stand up, Erica, and just...
It's actually a technology question. Is it possible to see what the results of this question was at the beginning of the whole discussion and see how that progressed as it went on, rather than just as a result of this last presentation?
We can't do it immediately.
Thank you.
Another comment, and then Michelle, George, Brenkart here.
I applaud Pat Bradshaw's speech because it does include the scientific research and the empirical evidence, and I do think it would be ethically irresponsible to not consider the empirical evidence, and even turning to... Can everyone hear me? Yeah.
Can you stand up and speak, please?
Yes. And even turning to quantum physics and turning to the area of physics, I think we need to branch over and take consideration of how sound actually affects the chemical makeup of all structures. And we need to look at how other research is doing remarkable developments in the area of sound itself. And this is not only a cultural issue or a race issue or a societal issue, but Gerard has it right that this is about the fundamental makeup of all structure in society. This is a cosmological issue, a universal issue of how sound actually affects the makeup of all structures. And you may want to consider Dr. Emoto, a Japanese scientist, research on how the development of sound, such as, I don't want to swear, but like love and thank you and the F word, actually affect the development of water crystals, and the awful words and angrier words make the water crystals form into, awful crystals, whereas the lovely words make the crystals form into beautiful shapes. So this is how sound affects the very fundamental makeup of all things.
Thanks very much.
Can the panelists respond?
If you feel impelled.
Most definitely, because I have to say I'm a little bit troubled by the comment. To reduce the evidence that, for instance, in the context of the U.S. nation state, more young black men between the ages of 15 and 25 years old are involved in the prison industrial complex as not empirical evidence. It's not to reduce it as something that's simply cultural. It's not really to grasp the magnitude of what gangster rap is actually trying to deal with and respond to and claim to represent. Now, those representations might be deeply faulty, but they are not outside the debates about empiricism. And secondly, empiricism is only a partial way of knowing the world, my friend. It is not the totality of knowing the world.
Okay, George, you were going to comment.
I have a much simpler question to Neil, and that's simply about your company itself. Have there been any contracts for such artists that you have ever rejected? Given the list that you have, I can't understand that perhaps you have rejected such contracts, and if so, why was this a particular question?
That's a great question. The short answer is that no, we have not denied working with any artists. However, I think is a really interesting case in point is the artist that Ronaldo mentioned, Elephant Man, whose concert was canceled tonight for specifically around issues that are similar to what we're talking about this evening. But there are some substantive differences. It's unusual for artists that are signed to major record labels, which are themselves mega corporations owned by large conglomerates. And we have to remember we're dealing here. To find, and these are the kinds of artists that we work with. There are a whole host of independent, underground, non-major label artists that we wouldn't work with. I mean, this is particularly how we position ourselves. But in that context, no, we have not declined to work with any artists, and nor would we.
The evening's moving along, so I'm going to call a halt to the discussion just for the moment. And I'm going to ask Neil now to develop the position that, in fact, the company took on this issue.
Need my presentation back. So I'm not sure if the appropriate question anymore should be, what would you do if you were in my circumstances? The question I think should be, do you want to be in my circumstances? I'll turn on this side, you can throw eggs, and on this side you can throw flowers. In either case, what makes this very real is that at the end of the day, I am a human being in this particular decision context, empowered with the responsibilities to have to make a decision about what to do. And so, given all the incredible